Hello, ladies and gentlemen. As the last group of this competition for today, our theme is multicultural life, and we're about to start now. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the final round of Proposals for Chinatown. I'm the host, Angel. The program that you're watching is live streamed by Radio Televisión Española. As we all know, Usera is one of the most charming zones in Spain. Why? Because it is home to more than 10,000 Chinese residents. Considering this vast cultural diversity, the City Council of Madrid has decided to put a Chinatown in its center to optimize the living experience of both Spanish people and Chinese locals. And we're very lucky here to present with you the two teams who have made it to the final. They are Huajian from China and Trin from Spain. Let's give them a round of applause.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, ladies, have a seat, have a seat.
Okay.
Welcome. And congratulations for making it finally to this round. And I'm sure the audience cannot wait any second more to hear from Julia from Chinese Huajian Company.
Thank you. Thank you, dear audience, and thank you, Senor Angel. I'm Julia, and as you can see here, I am a Chinese woman who have lived for years in Spain. So with this dual cultural background, I strongly believe that Chinese culture is much more multifaceted than it is shown in Spain. So we want to emphasize the cultural function of Chinatown. Instead of ordinary stuff like panda sculptures and lanterns, we want to present a museum. Inside, there will be art exhibitions and invitational performances held regularly. Moreover, we are trying to cooperate with Chinese local museums broadly. Besides, we are trying to build up an activity center where people can not only observe Chinese culture, but moreover, immerse themselves in it. Thank you.
Thank you, Julia. That was actually a very interesting plan. But without further ado, let's yield the place to Ms. Katrina for her to present with us her design.
Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm Catalina Glande from Trim. Our strategy is to focus on the art of architectural combination. Let's see. We're planning to make Spanish architectural style with Chinese culture. Usera needs integration, and that's our slogan. So what do? We're planning to hire some prestigious sculptors to design a Chinese pavilion for us. And what's special about it? Well, it would be a perfect combination between the beautiful mosaics of the Barcelona architect Antonio Gaudí and Chinese elements like pagoda eaves, carvings, and other decorations, as you can see here. I'm sure we will add interesting flavor to our Chinatown. Thank you.
Thank you, Katrina. Now, after your presentation, I do believe that the audience is quite curious about some aspects in your planification. And I've just got one message. It says, well, as a Spanish myself, I am very willing to see some traditional Chinese elements in your design, but I realize that neither of you focused on these aspects. Why?
Well, we actually did that on purpose. From my point of view, Chinatowns nowadays look so alike. Lanterns, memorial archways, pagodas can be seen in almost every Chinatown around the world. And this is the last thing we want to see in our design, homogeneity. And even though we mentioned pagodas and carvings as our decoration, they are involved with modern art. We're looking for some new interpretations.
Exactly. I share the same view with you because I think the impression of Chinese culture nowadays is somehow limited and out of date.
So you guys wanted to overturn the stereotypes of Spanish people when it comes to Chinese culture, right?
Yeah, I've been reflecting on the design of Chinatown a lot lately, and I suppose both of us found out the problems of the old Chinatown designs.
Yeah, but Katrina, I've got one question for you.
Okay.
Wouldn't it be weird to combine Goldie's design with Chinese architecture?
Well, I think it's cross-cultural and attractive. I'm sure people would love to take photos in front of it and post them on Instagram, right?
But we're talking about Chinatowns. Why do we need to make it hybrid?
Don't you think it's a kind of new interculturality? I mean, Chinese culture is lovely, and I'm sure that Spanish people would love to see their favorite artists combined with it.
Yeah.
Well, Chinese culture is lovely indeed, but that doesn't mean you can combine everything to Chinese culture. It would be ridiculous to do so.
Okay, so you mean we should stop making Chinese culture a part of universal culture?
Well, ladies, let's not get into a fight and let's not
Okay.
be so intense. Well, Julia, why don't you tell us your reasons of disapproval?
Yeah.
Sure, because as a Chinese artist myself, I have witnessed so many weird combinations within my own country. As you can see from the slides, this is a Swiss-style street in Sichuan province, and this is a German castle in Guizhou province. Both provinces are famous for their own landscape, yet these architectures do not fit in the environment at all.
Oh my God, this is way too weird.
I would rather not go to that place,
Yeah, but it has been a nice try after all.
I guess.
But in my own opinion, I think to get to know about a culture, you have to get involved in it and in an authentic way. Just simply tie everything together will be too superficial and doesn't constitute an immersed experience for people.
100% agreed.
Yeah.
But I'm afraid, ladies, that's all the time we got for today. Thank you for your participation. And dear audiences, as you can see in our case, the Chinatown program is very difficult to deal with and very tricky. So here we yield the chance to your hand. It is you who are going to decide which version of the two Chinatowns are going to get established in Usera Plaza. And remember to vote at our official website. Thank you for your participation,
Thank
ladies.
you for
and
having us
welcome
again.
again. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, what we have just seen in the case was an intent of trying to redefine the concept of Chinatown. But stepping further, we find ourselves asking this question: how can we find feasible ways to integrate two heterogeneous cultures? In our case, Katrina Grande seems to have held a simplistic view towards what is Chinese culture by trying to create a fusion between the architectural style of Spanish artist Gaudi and traditional Chinese elements. To be honest, hers was an stylish and a very canny intent. But such overgeneralization can contribute to simplifying a culture, thus yielding place to prejudices and misunderstandings. But on the contrary, when it comes to the planification of Julia Zhu, all she wanted to do is to emphasize the contemporariness of Chinese culture. Her intent made us understand that to get to know the essence of a culture, it's far not enough to just get to know its origin, tradition, and history, but more importantly, it's also about the evolution and contemporary trends that are taking place. The modernity of our world has revealed to us one striking fact. The voice of former reigning states is lowering down while the voice of the others is being heard with each time more sonority. This phenomenon constitutes precisely the prerequisite of post-colonialism, whose main point is to deconstruct geopolitical and socio-political dictatorship. But under cross-cultural circumstances and scenarios, how can we make it a pragmatic and practical way? Here we offer three possible solutions. First of all, when encountering cross-cultural issues, always keep an innovative mindset. Second of all, always have an open-minded attitude. Last but not least, we also want to stress on the importance of enhancing mutual cultural understanding so as to not make prejudices overcome our mutual reception. Last but not least, we also want to stress on the time that we are living in. The contextualization of a globalization is taking over our way of thinking. Under this circumstance, an intersection of aesthetics, both synchronously and diachronically, is taking place, which means that no one can be an isolated island and no country can stride forward prosperously without being integrated into a certain community. Therefore, it is high time that we abandon overgeneralizations and simplistic views towards a culture and realize that we are one. Thank you for your listening.
Okay, thank you. I liked your idea of combining Gaudi with Chinese architecture, although it is quite challenging and demanding. Next week, there will be an exhibition of Gaudi's architecture in Shanghai. Okay. And you raise a very good question. Okay, how can we find, use the word reconciliation? Okay, between two distant cultures, right? Okay, so would you please answer this question yourself from the perspective of intercultural communication?
Thank you for your question. When talking about this question, we have to face the theory of post-colonialism. Post-colonialism itself is actually about having a mutual mind and have to communicate with each other. There are no dominant culture in the cross-cultural communications, and there are the only center or the only margin. We are one. We are the same human being. So how to make two distant cultures together? First of all, we have to have the mindset that we are not distant. We are only geographically distant, but not humanly distant. In the colonial times, where cultural hegemony or, say, some persuasive culture is trying to spread over the world and try to be dominant. But in the postmodern era, this is no longer the case. Even though that some developed country and some undeveloped country in the third world maybe look distant, but they can actually share the same concept of like how to constitute a shared idea. For instance, when we're talking about food, when people think that Chinese food can only be Chinese food, but when you are going to Chinatowns, for instance, going to Europe, you can always find Panda Express. You can always find Chinese food which was transferred into the Western type, that Western people can also get to know about Chinese food, and Chinese culture can be spread through Chinese food. And that is for my question. Thank you. That is my answer.
Well, thank you, contestants. Now let's proceed to the quote analysis. Please stand up forward for the part. Learn a language and you'll avoid a war. Please analyze this quote from intercultural perspective. You have 20 seconds to think about it before you get started.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it's a simple quotation: learn a language and you'll avoid a war. So the premise is about how much you know about your own language and how much you know about the language that the others used. Right now, there are 7,111 languages around the world, and the number is still adding up, which means there are more than 7,000 cultures around the world. And as Nelson Mandela says, if you speak a language that the others understand, that goes into his mind. And if you speak a language that the others are also speaking, that goes into his heart. So if you don't know the language that the others are saying, well, conflicts occur, especially in different culture contexts. However, when we are talking about the language itself, although there are so many languages around the world, we share similarities. For example, in the let's say in the Asian area and in the Western Europe area, there are a similar pattern of a language. And of course, we have a thing called culture prototype. It is delivered because we are speaking the similar language pattern, and therefore we deliver similar cultures. And get to know about a language, the importance of it is to basically express similar ideas, and the others can understand it more easily. So when we are talking about different languages, let's take Chinese and English as an example. We live in totally different cultures, but now in China, we have the word goblin mode, and it is transformed in the Western culture to Chinese culture. And therefore, Chinese youngsters know now we can take a little break to enjoy the moment, and not just to enjoy this far future of this grand picture. And without the Chinese language, 关系, then the Western people won't know what this is in their culture, but clearly it exists. So therefore, what I'm suggesting is that even though culture, language is diverse in a lot of ways, but if we recognize and acknowledge it and try to learn it and change it to a culture behavior and respect all the culture differences, and then at the end, we will move forward for a better culture and for a better human race, a higher form of civilization. Thank you.
Thank you for your great performance. You may now leave the stage. Thank you very much.